This problem is very similar to another one that we've just gone over. It says that Gail will receive 1/3 of what is under negotiation or renegotiation, and Jimmy will receive 2/3. And this is a holdup problem because we see that the value that they can create is some function of the amount they invest. The question says, what is the first order condition for Gail's problem if she anticipates Jimmy will renege on the initial agreement once the investment is sunk? So with holdup, how much is she going to invest? And in this case, it's just asking us for the first order condition. Well, we know that her total surplus is the value divided by 3 minus the investment. Because this is with holdup, so we're splitting the value divided by 3 because that's what she'll get, 1/3 of it, minus the investment on its own level because he will renege. When we take the derivative with respect to I, be careful that you understand that since value is a function of I, that doesn't drop. It's not a different variable. It's a variable that consists of I. It's a function that consists of I. So we'll have 1/3 dv di, or the derivative of value with respect to I, minus 1 is equal to 0. So be comfortable with seeing this. Don't let this scare you. This is just, again, saying that our value function is some function of I, as we see it written here, v parentheses of I. So when we take the derivative with respect to I of v, we get dv over di. And if we had an actual value function, which was like 200i to the 0.5, well, we know the derivative of that would be 100 over I to the 0.5, for example. The next question says, suppose Gail hires Caroline to monitor the initial agreement, and the initial agreement was that Jimmy would reimburse her for 2/3 of the investment, and Jimmy would get 2/3 of the value. So then Gail would get 1/3 of the value, but only pay 1/3 of the investment. That was the original contract. It says the probability Gail will be able to hold Jimmy to the initial agreement with Caroline's records is F, and the probability is 0 without a monitor. If she can't, renegotiation will result in a split of value with no additional compensation to Gail for her investment. And then it says, what is the first order condition for Gail's problem now? Well, first let's take a look at what Gail's total surplus would look like. There's an F probability that we're not going to have the holdup problem. So the value minus the investment is all going to be divided by 3 for Gail. There's a 1 minus F chance we're going to have the holdup problem. So we'll have the value divided by 3 and the investment not divided by 3. When they ask for the first order condition, all they want us to do is take the derivative and set it equal to 0. So first I'm going to rearrange this. Now that it's rearranged, I'm going to distribute through the F. Now that I've done that and I foiled this second part, which is kind of the hardest part of the question, so be very careful that you're doing the math right because there's so many little steps that you can mess up with. That's why it becomes difficult. But now that I've gotten to here, I can take the derivative with respect to I. Again, remembering that the derivative of v with respect to I is going to be dv over di. And I see again that a lot of things are going to cancel nicely. So I can cancel a lot of things, setting this equal to 0, and I can rearrange it to a form that I see it on the test. So this is a form that will match an answer choice on the test. The last question says, suppose the solution to Gail's problem, having hired Caroline, is to invest IC, and the solution without a monitor is IN. What is the most Gail would pay for Caroline? So again, it's asking us for the value of information. This is verbatim to that other question, but we have a little different situation going on here. We're going to do the value with information minus the value without information. So what does the value with information look like? Well, F% of the time, we're going to have no holdup problem. 1 minus F% of the time, we're going to have a holdup problem. Those two components are the value with info. The value without info, we know we're going to have a holdup problem for sure, and we're going to invest IN. So this is the right answer. Again, we've gotten the right answer. Now the hard part is to match this to one of the answer choices on the test. Once you've written this, you can immediately cancel out some of the answer choices on the test and say these don't look anything like it. So we can at least give ourselves a solid guess, but now let's look at how we'll manipulate this to match one of the choices on the test. Well, first, I'm going to distribute through the F, and I'm going to FOIL that second part, the 1 minus F times this thing. Now that I've done that, well, I can combine like terms, and a lot of things cancel. For instance, this positive thing and this negative thing just become 0, and I can cancel F times IC minus 1/3 F times IC is going to give me 2/3 FIC. So I've combined like terms, made this thing a little neater. And again, I see that I'm closer to an answer choice on the test, not quite there. I need to switch this with this, and I need to factor out a negative I, just like he did on the other question. So I switch those two things, I factor out my negative I, and I find finally something that I see on the answer choices on the test, which I know it's a pain, I know it's disgusting, but again, once you get to that original step where you've written the value of information, just be confident that that is the right answer, and have patience, and at least be able to eliminate some of those other answer choices that you know are wrong, and give yourself a good guess. But try to get the right answer, of course.